Hello, everyone, and welcome to this first session of the podcast series Surviving Adultery. I am Maurice, and I wrote that book that speaks a lot about adultery, as the title says, Surviving Adultery. It's about how we go through to survive this ordeal. I have been having a lot of questions from people around the nations since I uh, pushed the book on Facebook, on several media, just to gather what was the reaction or from people around. And it has been overwhelming, as many have contacted me. Many tried to purchase the book. Many had questions and left comments, positive or negative, whatever. But there was a reaction. So the most common questions that I have, and the most common about this common is why I wrote that book. Well, first of all, um, it is good to know that the book is about real story, real process, real people. That's not a fiction. That's not something I wrote to talk on a subject without any experience. It's about my own experience and what happened to us in the earliest of our life, married life, and that would drastically change things forward. So I wrote it because I at that time, but I was healing and what I discovered God, and I was starting to serve God. I clearly understood that God wanted me to write down what happened, and it would be used as a testimony. So that's something that happened years ago, decades ago, and I started putting it down in writing. And I never finished the book. Actually, I started it, but I I started it the year after things happened, and I started to write down, but I could not finish it because I was still going through the healing, the process. We were trying to patch things up. We were through the process that you can read for the book, so it was not that easy. It was not that easy because there's so much things going on, so much things happen, so much disillusion, and so on. So I started writing chapter by chapter, thoughts by thoughts, ideas by ideas. Sometimes I would write down, then erase it completely, and then get back to it. And I think I wrote like 80% of it. My wife wrote a part of it as well. I mean, we completed the book, 80% of it, during the first probably 5 or 6 years of after the happenings. And then I left the book aside. And so many things happened in my life. I got cancer. We started so many things. The cancer took a toll on it. And so I forgot about the book. I left it there. I never went back to the script. Probably 1 or 2 times I look at it and say, I have to find time to sit and write down. But I was not convinced, because going over all of that, because when you have to read, to pick up and see where you've been, and then okay, right, you go through the pain again, because you're still a hurt, right? But why I completed it is that because recently, probably 2 or 3 months ago, I was having my devotional one morning, and one of the subject of prayer was I was reading on manhood, womanhood. I have the ministry that I run, which is a man of the God's heart. And all of this, I was thinking about all of this, meditating about even me, myself, my role, having reached that age, if I was still being a good husband, good father, ministry, etc. And one particular morning, I could clearly feel the Holy Spirit asking me what happened about the book, because I was praying about it. There was something still there. I didn't know at that time what it was, which was a bug. I could not point my finger on it, And when God asked me, what happened about this book? I asked you to complete it. It's been years now. So please complete it. So because I was in prayer and devotional, so I knew what definitely was from God. So I sat down, I started to read the book. So I started from the beginning, reading everything that we wrote, going through that to finish it. And that was something great, because while I was reading the part where my wife wrote, and I I read things that she said which touched me on that day, and which was needed. So, and this brought some kind of healing or completion, something that was broken in me, and something that I misunderstood. So it helped me, because it helped me in my day. So then I told myself, so many years, if I had read and completed the book, I would have fixed that issue. I would have understood some things. Women are difficult to understand, but if I had read it, I would have understood. So now I understood, because when God was speaking to me during my devotional, what I understood was, many outside are calling for help, and they don't know where to turn. Many are going through what I've been through. Many have been through, and they don't know what to do, and they end up with divorce and etc. and all over kind of traumas. And my story, me willing to talk about it openly, was what God was asking me. And and clearly I could understand that this would be used as ministry. This would be used by many for their personal healing, and even for myself, by completing it and going through everything that we've been through, and reading again how we went through. Things came back to me. Things that during the hurt we spoke to each other. We said we would make sure that these do not happen again. Things that I have forgotten some of them. And then I quickly ran back, say, hey, these are the signs we spoke about. So we have to look out for the signs. And not to commit again, but that this is where you let down your spouse. And that's very dangerous. That's the start of things. So that is one of the main reasons. It's because it came from God. Because who will want to go and publish your life out? But is not the glory of God found in the testimony of how He turned things around? A lot of time I hear people saying, quotes like, God turns your mess into a message. And I thought long about it. I said, Lord, I have to write about my own life, so everybody knows me. I'm a public person, so that they would know that I fell, and etc. etc. But that's the true nature. Even David fell, right? We read in the Bible real people who had real failures, but what defined them is not the failures, is the work that God did in their lives. And this is what God wanted to display. What is the most killing things in our and damaging things in our lives today is adultery, is sexual immorality, and it's marriage which are being broken. It's the relationships that are damaged, and so on. And people don't know how to get out of it. They think that when one thing happened, adultery, whatever happened, it's over, it's finished, my life is over. And so many of these ends up in tragedies like murders, suicide, a complete breakdown, and so on. So I took time. I wrote the book. I told my wife it's time to publish. We're going public with it, and I published it. So what I did is I also understood that all that during the devotional, that uh, the church, I realized it as well, because I've been through many churches, I've been to many conferences. Nobody speaks about that. Nobody tackled the problem, the issues of adultery. Why? Firstly, because many pastors are caught up in it. Many leaders are caught up in it, and they don't know how to talk about it. So you just read about the scandals that happens, but nobody tackles it in the church. And the other thing that I understood, which encouraged me a lot, was that the blame game and the shame that comes with it. So people don't want to talk about it, don't want to go to the pastors, because they think they will be blamed, or they are ashamed of admitting that things went wrong. So, so it has become like a taboo talking about adultery. Oh, how can a man go and say, I have been cheated? How can a Christian go and say, if I'm having this kind of issue in my marriage, things are not going well? So how can he go and say, okay, I have issues? So that the whole thing around adultery, from what starts it and what to do after it, is never spoken about. We talk about Jesus' love and forgive, but we don't. We really talk about sins anyway. So that's innovation. So, and it was a big surprise because when I published it on Facebook, I just went, and gave a teaser. So many people contacted me and wanted to get hands on the book. Christian like non-Christians. So many people contacted me and purchased the book because we don't talk about that in the church, and we need materials to help us deal with it. So, and we're getting it. Some have been contacting me on WhatsApp, on Messenger, everywhere. Everyone has a problem. Everyone is going through that problem. So, and then I praise God and I thank God for using me. I'm nothing. I'm no one. Right? When I read that book, I said, "Wow, very far." But that's the grace of God. It's God who lifts us up. So that's the reason. And then I was encouraged because I think in this time, the next generation, the actual generation, which is we are of the past generation, don't have any solid foundation of surviving any trauma. They don't survive anything. When something breaks, they just quit and they go. There's no way for them to survive, and the belief in marriage is gone. The belief in forgiveness is gone. The belief is in surviving things are gone. And the thing is that when we get married, when we exchange our vows, we say, till death do us part, in good and bad, in good and worst time. And I think for a couple, the worst thing that can happen is not sickness, diseases, or what can be, or poverty or debts. It's definitely when the trust, the sexual trust, is broken. That's what the worst. We call it adultery, and because we're married. And when that happens, what do we do? What do we do? And our image is that of God. We have been adulterous to God, but when we come back, forgives us, He cleanses us, He makes us whole again, and takes us back again. And this is what Jesus speaks about. He says that in the beginning, God makes them one, and divorce was not part of God's plan. It's because of the hardened hearts that He allowed Moses to allow them to write a letter because of sexual immorality, adultery. But that was not the case. When we dig into the Bible, we find so many things, because the foundation of it is love and forgiveness. Nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to commit adultery today. Well, some of them do because they're wicked, they don't know God, and they have these over issues that I deal with in the book. Why do someone commit adultery? There are two main reasons, and I probably will come over that later on in one of the episodes of the podcast. We'll talk longly about that. But that's all the reasons why I really went for the book. So because of the silence, when we went through that, we had to stay silent. Oh, you should not talk about it. Nobody should know. We have to deal our own. But we deal with it, not knowing how to deal with it. And you spend time being hurt, you have fear, you have so many things that come. We barely made it through. It took years, months, weeks, months, years to get over it, right? To get things not back to how it was, but to get over it, because now you have two broken people. The one who have committed it is broken, and the one who is the victim of it is broken. Now, when you have both who have both cheated, then you have a mess and you have kids. So you have to get through all of that. And to get through of that, you have to be true to yourself. You have to be true to your spouse. You have to be true in so many things. And this is what we teach to do. And like I said, we at the time of printing the book, we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. So we're still together, going strong. So, and this thing happened probably 18 years ago or so, right? 18 years ago or so. So, which means you can live through it. We've lived through it. We've lived through terminal cancer. We've lived through so many things. So when God told me again, go public with it, that was not a problem. I had nothing to prove to anyone except that God does miracles. And sometimes we give testimonies without real facts. We can read from the Bible and say, yeah, God will do that in such situation. He can do that. He can raise the dead. He can heal your heart. But it's something else when somebody who really went through it speaks out and tells the reality of it and speak about how it went through. It has nothing to do to give glory to adultery or whatever. It has everything to do to give glory to God in bringing restoration in it. But it's also have everything to do with us being humans and having feelings, emotion, going through stress, going through so many things that we cannot fathom or we cannot understand because we're not prepared for it, of us doing errors, mistakes, not because we want to do it, but because we do it, and learning on that. And that also opened my eye because there was no one in the church to teach that. The thing is that the church has become too much theoretical, a lot of theories, nothing as practical, because people just speak about things they have never experienced or things that they can't understand because they've not been through it. So compassion, understanding is only possible if you've been through it and you know how to deal with it. So I was able to approach and understand people who were suffering from cancer the day I myself found myself dying of cancer. Again, that's a big miracle of God. And where I know He asked me to write about that as well, but I still have to do it. Probably I have to obey anyway. So we went all out because that's God. That is what God wanted us to do. Christians have to understand that, and even people have to understand out there, that we don't simulate things. We do, like them, we do have problems, we do have issues. We have not figured it all out. We do mistakes, but hiding it behind the veil of I am a Christian and I have Jesus, everything goes fine. That's wrong. That's not what the Bible teaches. That's why we have so many gifts. Perhaps we have so many of forgiveness, healing, compassion, loving, caring, and so on. Of course, and then once God does things, He asks us to turn from sin, and He helps us to get rid of that sin from our lives as we grow in Him more, as we crucify the flesh more. But we do fail. That's my story. That's our story. We failed. Well, I was not yet a strong Christian at that time, because I think I gave my life to Christ after that. But that's not an excuse, because honoring your wife, being faithful has nothing to do with being a Christian. It has everything to do as an individual. If you take an engagement, a covenant with your wife, you love her, you respect her, and you have to hold up to your words. So I have non-Christians who have ordered my book. The day I publish about it, they have pre-ordered the book because they have been pestering, not pestering, it's a good word. They have been after me to get the books, which means this issue is for everyone. And I hope that they can find answers into that. And like I say in the book, not every marriage survives it. That's not a foolproof book. Like I say, oh, this is a magic book. I created it, you will survive. No, many are unable to get through, because what it takes to get through is so much. It's so much. You have to humble yourself. You have to accept things. You have to talk about things. And at times, the ego, the pride can't get through. And we can't forgive because the hurt is too much. or we cannot walk the path of God, or we can't forgive, and there's so many things. So that's why there's a chapter dedicated to when the marriage does not survive, but the individual still has to survive, and the individual still have to survive, even if you end up divorcing, but you still need to survive it. You still need to live. You still have children. You live have kids. You still have a work. You still have a life. Now you have to go through that. But how do you go through that as well? So it's not just we get back together. Is what do we do to get through and over it? Main objective is to get back together and to solve it, because God is a God of love and forgiveness. But still, if that fails, this is how we get over it. Like I said, the book is for Christian and non-Christian, because what we lived through it is essential. Of course, God makes a big difference, because He helps our hearts, He helps to forgive, He helps to heal us, He helps to, He does so many things. But again, the complete part of detecting the signs before it happens is important as well. So that's why I also wrote the book, because it can be preventive, because the signs were there and the doings were there. Just that in that moment we could not see it, but we wrote about that as well, so you understand how you fall into these traps very quickly. So the book is both as a path to redemption and also a preventive one, so that we don't make these issues. We cannot take everything for granted. Like, guys, emotions, we cannot play with that. Women are emotional and men are also emotional. We cannot play like tough. Oh, I'm tough. No, because things touch us. There are things that we want from our wives. There are things that the wives from the husband. And many times it's unspoken, because we take things for granted. That will cause damage later on. If not today, if we're not careful, it will cause us problem. So that is what all of that is about. So that is why I wrote the book. Like I said, first thing is because God asked me to do it. Secondly, and then He explained to me why it has to be done, and also being myself a Christian, working with people, listening to God, doing marriage counseling, I understood that this is not a curriculum. We never talk about this, and it is time that we are open about it. It is time that is no longer taboo, and everyone speaks about it, seeks help, and that we are preventive, we are reactive, we are caring, and we take care of that. So the better we are preventive that it does not happen. But if it happened, let's work toward a restoration, a redemption for the pain, for everything, because redemption is possible. So that is all for this session. I was happy to at least share my heart with you. In the next episodes, we're going to go tackle other questions, tackle topics from the books, discuss more. If you think you have questions, you have anything else you want to share with me, you want me to talk about, please be free to send it to me. I'll make sure that we can take it on. Hopefully, we can do something live one day, and I can take the question quickly on. So, but thank you very much. If you want to have more information, reach out to me. I have my WhatsApp, my pages, and everything. The links for the books is on the page on Facebook. There's this very specific page for the book where I share contents. So until next time, God bless you. There is a way back even from adultery. Bye-bye.